Renaud, André, ihr arbeitet seit Jahren zusammen, seid ein eingeschweißtes Team und kennt euch vor allem mit der komischen Seite des Musiktheaters sehr gut aus. Jetzt ist die Fledermaus von Johann Strauss dran und das ist ja doch mit den ganzen deutschen bzw. österreichisch gefärbten Dialogen eine ganz besondere Herausforderung.
It was for us very important to keep Vienna, you know, in the Fledermaus. We had the chance to do a couple of productions in Vienna, and it's a city that we really like, and it's an ambience that we really like. And there is a certain feeling of suranné, we say in French, a little bit old-fashioned, always in Wien. Sometimes some people would say a bit kitsch, okay, but that sincerely we like. And we wanted really to pay an homage also to what was La Belle Époque in Wien, but at the same time there's all the beginning of psychoanalysis and how do you deal with your couple and how Mr. Freud is going to come in, you know. So it's also a society where you have to pretend, and you had to pretend, especially before the First World War. You had to pretend and everything was fine, and all the bourgeois society had to pretend that their marriage was going well, that everything was okay, where in fact mostly it was not. Like for everybody, you know, a couple is not necessarily something easy to deal with every day, but you don't have to pretend that everything is good.
Yeah, and you know, we were doing also before La Belle Hélène with Jacques Offenbach, and it's the same interesting thing. The author criticized the petit bourgeois society, and the petit bourgeois society in Wien is similar to the petit bourgeois society in France. It's the petit bourgeois mentality. So it was interesting to see that both composers and their librettists were actually picking fun at these people. So this is what we liked about it.
Renaud, du hast gerade die Psychoanalyse von Freud angesprochen. Ich muss sagen, ich würde gerne jede Figur in diesem Stück mal gerne auf der Couch erleben, um so richtig zu verstehen, was hinter diesen Sehnsüchten und Gefühlen so steckt. Denn wenn man einfach die Handlung anschaut, ist sie gar nicht so leicht auf einen Nenner runterzubrechen. Worum geht es eigentlich in der Fledermaus? Man hat ein Ehepaar, Rosalinde mit Eisenstein, und beide scheinen eine große Sehnsucht nach einem außerehelichen Abenteuer zu haben. Und es ist klar, dass das irgendwie zu Schwierigkeiten führen muss. Aber im Grunde ist die Rahmenhandlung ja eine Geschichte von zwei Freunden, eine kleine Rachegeschichte. Es könnte ein kleiner Streich sein, es wird etwas schlimmer. Eisenstein hat sich irgendwann den Streich erlaubt, Dr. Falke nach einem Maskenball betrunken in seinem Fledermauskostüm im Wald abzulegen. Und am nächsten Morgen johlt natürlich die ganze Stadt über diesen betrunkenen Mann im Fledermauskostüm. Und nun rächt sich Dr. Falke an Eisenstein, lädt ihn zu einem schönen Ball ein, lässt ihn seine eigene Frau, die maskiert ist, verführen und damit der Untreue überführen. Und ja, wir sind zurück bei dem Thema Ehe, beim Thema Treue oder Untreue und müssen immer wieder uns fragen, wer ist eigentlich schuld? Ständig beschuldigen sich die Charaktere, du bist schuld, er ist schuld. Als Regisseur liegt es ein bisschen bei dir, das Licht darauf zu lenken, wie empfinden wir diese Geschichte, mit wem fühlen wir, wer ist schuldig, wer unschuldig. Wie empfindest du diese Geschichte? Welche Botschaft steckt eigentlich dahinter zwischen diesem Racheplan, dieser Ehegeschichte? Worum geht es im Kern?
For me, the piece is much more serious than just a fun comedy. There is an edge in this piece that is fascinating. Then they decide at some point to make a pact. Yes, we can continue to live like this. Fine, but we do as we want.
And I think this is why we decided to put it in an amusement park, because in a way, a lot of people think that marriage, the ceremony of marriage, is the most important part of your life and you know, the happiest day of your life. But it's just the beginning of a big adventure. And we created this, at the beginning, during the prologue, we created this amusement park called Liebesland, where everybody enters with a smile on their face, hoping that life together will be fantastic.
Which is also based on the Prater in Wien.
Yes, totally, and definitively, because at the Prater there was this big Ferris wheel where we heard everybody went there and had affairs inside, you know, it was going very slowly.
Yeah, this was the best place to have an affair.
Yeah.
You know? And also, you know, they had the Venedig in Wien, you know, because is there something more romantic than Venice? No, there is not, you know, but it was super kitsch.
But at the same time, this is what we decided to do. We imagined that Eisenstein and Rosalinde were living the perfect life of a perfect little bourgeois couple. So they were living
They
like
were pretending.
They
to
wouldn't
live.
know, yes, exactly. But you know, in those days, and still it's the case with many people today, they want to buy their little house in a little suburb, with a little house similar to everybody. They want to decorate it with stuff, any stuff. And they want to pretend that they're happy and living in bliss. So this Ferris wheel set is one of many in the Ferris wheel. The gondola that you find is representing the different couples. And of course, at the moment in the story, the Ferris wheel gondola is on the floor. It's a wonderful moment to escape. So Eisenstein goes to Prince Orlovsky, and she can have affairs with neighboring attractions. So this is why she falls in love with Alfred, who's in charge of Venedig in Wien. So the idea is that it's a crazy amusement park, and it's not realistic. We speak about something that is in their mind. It's something that we create, a universe that we create.
It's really enjoy the ride and the different rides, and sometimes it can turn into a ghost ride, and it can become your absolute nightmare. Yes, this is possible, and this is why, you know, we also transposed it, you know, for the third act as the ghost train. You know, people, the ladies who suddenly are going to end up with 10 kids, and that's not what they want. That's not what they wanted, you know, as a married wife, or, you know, the husband, you know, who decides to run away. Whatever's possible, but and then the divorce with all the lawyers that will call you and tell you what to do. So it's a little bit, you know, we need it also to have fun with it, but absolutely respecting the development and the human story and the humanity of each character. This is for us. Whatever we do and whatever production we do, we want to make sure that the humanity of the character is what comes across.
Bei einer Operette, finde ich, liegt das Klischee nahe, dass sie so wunderschön lustig und leicht ist. Man denkt an Champagner, Tänze, die Komik. Aber ihr habt auch schon eigentlich den Schmerz angesprochen. Der Humor tut oft beißend weh. Die Charaktere leiden und haben eigentlich ein ernstes Schicksal. Was war für euch besonders heikel an diesem Werk? Woran musstet ihr euch abarbeiten oder eine besondere Lösung finden?
Well, let me speak. I don't think this is a very hard piece. I think when Strauss made it, he wanted to entertain people. He wanted to speak about the bourgeois aspect of it, as I said earlier. He wanted to, you know, tease people about it. But he filled it with such beautiful music and that has become a classic today. So our goal was to try to be faithful to his ideas and to his librettist ideas, which is very much set in the past. For me, Fledermaus, the flavor of it, the relationships, although we can see them today, all the aspect of Fledermaus is very set for me in the past.
It definitely, you know, I don't think a woman, especially in Europe, would accept half of it anymore, you know. And now you can just go out and it's easy. At the time, it was not easy. So this is why for us, you know, we need sometimes to keep the time distance to be able to put things in perspective. And this moment of La Belle Époque, you know, especially in Vienna, was also a moment where women were not that free. Far from it. Far from it. So, you know, if you decided to go away, that was a different story than today. So, to make things modern, you know, sometimes it works. But for me, a piece like this, you have this flavor, but then it creates the edge. Then you can work on the edge of the piece. You can work. The text is fantastic. The text is absolutely fantastic. But then let's not pantomime it. Because when we start to pantomime the text, then we totally forget the essence of the words. And the words are strong.
You said something very interesting, because it was exactly the time where women were becoming suffragettes.
Yeah.
You know, to fight for their rights. We decided to put it in the beginning of the 20th century because it was also a moment where women were going out of their shell. They had it enough. They had enough of all that. They wanted to become their own person. They wanted to be able to vote, and
But
the movement started also very much in Austria and
And
in
it's also
Germany.
a moment in Austria, in Vienna, you know, which becomes a decadent moment, you know, and you're going to go towards the First World War, and there's going to be the end of the empire. And at some point, it grows to something, you know, to this big souffle that was totally kitsch. Even, you know, in the empire, it was kitsch for most of the people over there. But still, when you go to Vienna, which I adore, okay, because I am kitsch, but when you go to Vienna, you go to some balls, there is still this flavor, and you can appreciate it because there is a feeling of real pleasure. And this feeling of pleasure should not be taken away from the piece.
I think we also wanted to do that, to give people the pleasure of enjoying a good evening, to have fun, to laugh, to be amused, to be transported by the beautiful music. It's fantastic, by the dance, by everybody knows this piece.
But with a lot of surprises.
Yes, we didn't want to reproduce a show that was done in at the beginning of the 20th century. We wanted to give the flavor of it, but add our own vision to it, and add also something that was becoming not a critique, but I think it's a love letter to the Fledermaus, probably. Yes?
Yeah, there is an edge, but the edge has to be done with a smile.
Yes.
Even when it hurts. Because there is a lot, when you look at the situation of Act 2, all those people who come in, they're mostly people who hide. They're mostly people who cannot live their life.
Yes.
But in this situation, they can.
And in our version in Act 2, probably this is how we solved the problem of Eisenstein falling in love with his own wife, or his own wife falling in love with him.
Don't say it.
No, but it's when you will see the production, you will understand how she's the only one who can fall with him.
Ja. Es ist schön, noch ein paar Geheimnisse zu bewahren. Hier sieht man ja auch optisch nur den ersten Akt. Vielleicht werfen wir zum Abschluss noch einen Blick auf die Kostüme, gerade weil ihr die Epoche so ansprecht, Belle Époque. In den Kostümen spiegelt sich dieser Zeitgeist so schön wider und sie sind so detailreich. Wollt ihr uns noch im Detail die Kostüme einmal zeigen, die mitgebracht sind?
You can see that the set is so pink and so kitsch, and I mean we played with really the Valentine box idea of the period, you know, with angels and cupids and pink and everything like that, and heart-shaped chairs. It was important to focus on the characters, and to focus on the character we wanted, for example, this is the Rosalinda, and we wanted to give the impression that in her marriage she is a little bit like in a jail. So she's wearing the fashion of the beginning of the 20th century, but I have exaggerated her sleeves also to push her away from people. You know, she cannot be close to Eisenstein because she has this structure, the make-believe world that she has decided she lives in. And of course, all these stripes create a jail effect. In the second act, when she appears as another woman, she has bare shoulders and she's much more voluptuous. But this was important, and it's the same thing for Adele. She is also working in that household, and she has stripes, and everything is black and white to define the characters, which will stand very much more on stage. Because as I said, the whole palette is so colorful that we wanted to focus on them. And it's the same thing for all the characters. They're basically in black, whites, grays, with hints of red and with hints of pink, just to focus on them, because in such an environment, in such a chocolate box set, we needed to still see the people. And Alfred, who is of course the gondolier in Venedig and Wien, which was a place that really existed in those days. Well, you hear all the time gondoliers, and they usually are accompanied by singers on gondolas singing songs. And Alfred is a little bit like that. He's always singing, and we thought it was wonderful to put him as a gondolier and to have him next to the Ferris wheel as a neighbor, and it made sense for Rosalind to be seduced by the Italian gondolier.
Tenor.
And tenor, of course.
Das ist ein sehr schönes Schlusswort. Ganz vielen lieben Dank für eure Einblicke, für eure Arbeit hier. Danke euch.
Thank you.
Thank you.